Hello, everybody. Welcome to this fourth day of our third edition of the festival, Dando Vida a la Muerte, Giving Life to Death. Today in Spain is the day of All Saints, we call it, 1st of November, Día de Todos los Santos. And in our tradition, what we do is we visit all the cemeteries, we take flowers, and we visit the people that are not with us anymore. So that's a very special day. I would like to remind you that we are having this interview. Now at 7 p.m., we will have a conference with Alejandro Nespral from the Fundación IPA. And at 8 p.m., we will have a roundtable with Jordi Miralles from Funeral Natural, Ibera Santos from the company Regenera. Now, I would like to say hello to our guests, Kate Tym and Kate Dyer. Hello.
Hello.
Hola.
How are you?
Yes, we're very well, thank you.
Okay, let me introduce you to our guests, the people who are watching us. Both of you are the co-founders of the Coffin Club UK, which is an educational platform which you inform everyone about all the choices available for their end-of-life celebration. Both of you work as funeral celebrants too, and you are obsessed with changing the fate of the funerals in the UK, and not only in the UK. We are going to try to do it also in Spain. You are both married. You both have 3 kids and a dog each. That's great. And what I really love is how clear you have your ideas once you die. Kate Tym wants to be buried or composed. You will explain to us what is that it's a new idea, new thing. And Kate Dyer wants to be cremated in a coffin that has a life-size picture of Kevin Bacon stuck to the inside of the lid. I will get back to this because I thought that was really, really original and surprising for me. It was like, oh my God, what a cool way. Anyway, so welcome, Kate. And Kate, thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to just ask you a few questions, and you can just explain to us whatever it comes to your mind. Okay. So first of all, we would like to know, where do you come from and how did all this adventure start?
So we are from East Sussex, which is a county on the south coast of England. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say how this adventure started?
So Kate and I were working as wedding registrars for East Sussex County Council. And we were working together one day, and we were running from one wedding to another, and said, we can't do this anymore, let's just go and do it independently. So literally Kate handed a notice on the Monday, I did on the Tuesday. We didn't really know each other that well. No. We had no business plan. No. We had no idea, but we knew that was what we didn't want to do. And realised that obviously weddings are seasonal. So what were we going to do in the winter to generate money? And the natural thing was funerals. So we had a little chat about it, whether or not it was something we felt we could do, because, you know, with a wedding, if you get the name wrong of the couple, then you can laugh, but you can't quite do that if you've got the funeral. So anyway, we went and did some training, and we took from it what we could. And within about 2 or 3 funerals, we looked at each other and said, is this it? Is this what you would want for yourself or your loved ones? There must be more that we could offer. And because we go to loads of beautiful venues for weddings, we actually spoke to the venues and said, have you thought about holding a funeral at your venue? You know, it would be in the week. It would give more revenue. You could then, you got your big doors that the coffins could go through. Everything's there set for you. And initially they were like, ooh, not quite sure. Coffins, bodies, ooh. But very quickly they realised that actually, yes, this is a very good idea. And without exception, 100% of the venues we spoke to said that they would hold a funeral with a coffin, with a body present. So we were so excited, and we skipped off full of joy and hope to our funeral directors. But what did they say, Kate?
Well, we skipped off to our local funeral directors and said, oh, we've spoken to all these lovely wedding venues who are keen to host funerals. You know, would you offer that to families who come to you? And they all said no. And when we said, why not? They said, well, no one's ever asked us for that. And we thought that was a bit disingenuous, because no one had ever asked, because people didn't know that that was an option. People are very, very used to the two ways that we tend to do funerals in the UK, which is church or other place of worship, or crematorium, and you have the service at the crematorium, and then you go to a local pub or hotel or social club and have you know, a little party afterwards. So, you know, people just aren't aware in the UK that there are actually no rules around how you celebrate somebody's life, as long as in the final instance you dispose of the body correctly, which in our case currently is either burial or cremation. Although we are about to have alkali hydrolysis resomation, so they also call it water cremation facility, is going to set up in the UK next year, somewhere in the north of England. So there will be a third option. Oh, and there's burial at sea as well. But people are so used to, you know, the format of the person you love dies, you pick up the phone to the funeral director, the body is whisked away, and then the funeral director basically gives you two options. Do you want the church or your faith-based ceremony, or do you want the crematorium and a 20-minute, 30-minute service there? So we just want to make everyone aware of the fact that those aren't your only two options. You can actually do anything you like. You can separate the cremation or burial from the celebration of life. You can then just have a small family-only committal, or, you know, an unattended committal, or you could do a direct cremation where nobody's involved. It's literally a body disposal service, and then you are free to do whatever you like. And it just changes, even changing the venue, it just changes the atmosphere. It changes everything. Same if you decorate a coffin. You know, we've got pictures of people all gathered around a coffin because it's covered in photos. And so it becomes central to proceedings. It stops being the scary box. So it's just about being creative, letting people know all their options, and then they can choose whatever's right for them, even if that is 20 minutes up the crematorium. So they know everything they can do and they choose that. That's an informed choice, and we're completely happy. But we're all so different in life, and then in death we end up having this very cookie cutter approach.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I completely understand, because in Spanish we are years behind you, and we are still in that at that point. Nobody. I facilitate death cafes. And some people, when I say there is other choices besides the church, nowadays, I mean, 2 weeks ago, they were just asking me, oh, really? So it is an issue. And I think, as you say, there are lots of ways to live. There should be lots of ways to celebrate life. And we have to know all the options to feel which one is in with us, resonates with us, and that's it. So you talked, you introduced the Coffin Club. That was my next question. What was the catalyst that brought you to create the Coffin Club UK? And explain a little bit, what is this about?
You want to?
Well, so basically it was frustration. It was the fact that our local funeral directors were not going to tell people that they had other options. So we thought, well, we're going to tell them. So yeah, it was basically that. And it sort of happened accidentally, because we went to talk to a venue about weddings, and it was a deconsecrated church that was now an art centre. And they said, oh, we've got a coffin lift and we've got a crypt. And we were just kind of like, oh, this would be the perfect setting for a coffin club. So we just, before we knew it, we were kind of running a coffin club in our usual fashion. Kate Dyer will tell you that.
Well, you'd read about it. Kate had read about Coffin Club New Zealand in the paper. And so that had already planted the seed. And she contacted New Zealand, and the lady's name, excuse me, was Katie. So we were already, oh, it's a sign. And there was a coffin club in Hastings, New Zealand. So we were like, right, we've got to do this. Everything, the world is telling us that we need to get on and do it. And like Kate said, literally, we were talking about weddings, and the next minute we had a venue for our first coffin club with no real plan as yet, but that was enough to spur us on to say, yeah, the planets are aligning, let's get this done.
Poor Kate Dyer, I have a habit of having what is called a good idea. And then I'm just off. I'm like, oh, I've had a good idea. And then I'm doing it, and she's sort of hanging on to my coat, trying to drag me back. But there's no stopping me, is there?
No, sometimes I have to just say, hang on, can we just think about this and talk about it before you just drag me to some other thing that terrifies me.
So yeah, we just started, and we had 4 people come to the first coffin club. And from tiny acorns, mighty oaks do grow. And it's just kind of grown and grown, because basically it's such a great idea. And actually, people are really interested in death. People just don't like talking about their own death. And this gives them a really safe environment to come and explore that in a way that is really not scary. It's quite inspirational. It's quite good fun. It's not morbid. They have a funeral wish list that they work through. We have different speakers come every week. So we have like manager of our local crematorium and cemetery. We have a forward-thinking funeral director. We have end-of-life doulas or soul midwives. We have us as funeral celebrants. We have people who work at the hospice. So, they can just end up really, really well informed. And through that, they can make a decision about what kind of funeral or end-of-life celebration is right for them. Get it all written down, give it to whichever family member or friend or special person or solicitor that they want to leave that information with, and then they just get on with living their life.
I mean, it has evolved, Coffin Club. Initially, we thought it was going to be about decorating coffins, and that's what we had in our heads. But very quickly, we realised that that was secondary. It really was about educating people, because we were so surprised how little they knew. I mean, we are all going to die, but people knew nothing. So and watching people decorate coffins is really interesting as well, because they have the speaker comes and talks to them and gives them whatever topic, and then they go away and they decorate their coffin, and you can see them processing the information. And because there is no eye contact, the conversation is so free. It's very interesting. It really is. And we never know who's coming through the door as a coffin clubber. we initially thought it was going to be terminally ill people and elderly people. That is absolutely not the case. Usually it's a clubber, we call them clubbers, the people that come to Coffin Club. So usually our clubbers have had perhaps a bad experience with a funeral. Perhaps they did their parents' funeral and it was very traumatic, and they don't want that for their children. So that's really interesting as well, because we have people from all ages, all walks of life, but all with a common interest.
And different religions as well. You can come to Coffin Club, you know, even if you are a person of faith, because you still might want to find out all your options, even if you still end up saying, do you know what, I'm going to go to the local Catholic church and have my service there because that fulfills my belief. We've now separated the coffin decorating from the educational bit, because what we found was people thought they wanted a coffin and wanted to decorate a coffin. Then they would find out about shrouds, or they would find out about leaving their body to medical science. And they would be like, actually, I don't want or need a coffin now. So we've separated that out, and we now have a separate coffin decorating workshop just for people who really have thought about it, and they definitely do want that.
They have used our coffins, haven't they, for coffee tables and to put their blankets in and things. And
linen
so yeah,
storage.
so there are other uses for coffins, you know.
It's wonderful. Everything. It's so inspirational. I may just start the coffee club here.
Please do.
But yeah, and what I watched some of the videos and the things you had, and I thought that was a very healthy way to have your coffin decorated as a table for the TV. It's just a reminder of how that our body is finite. It will end at some point. So I don't think it's such a bad idea. We renovate, we paint our cupboards when we don't like them blue, we paint them white. So why not to have a table that with a meaning, a very deep meaning, besides being a table for the TV. So anyway, very, very interesting everything, and very interesting how you just flow. For me, it's you may have an idea, but then you see that that's not maybe how it's going to work in
we're really good at going
options, and you have now the workshop for this, because you've realized that there are other needs that are not fulfilled by the painting of the coffin. So anyway, very, very interesting.
We're very good at going in the wrong direction and then doing a complete U-turn. We're experts at that. I mean, at the end of the day, what we realized is the most important thing is that people talk about this stuff. So actually, at the heart of everything we do is getting people to have these conversations. And Coffin Club is brilliant for, you know, grandma coming along, and then she hasn't been able to talk to her kids or her grandkids about her funeral because they all go, oh, Mum, I don't want to talk about it. It's upsetting. She comes to Coffin Club. She goes home. She says, oh, did you know it takes about an hour and a half for a body to burn, but it's actually longer if they've got cancer? And then everyone goes, oh, my God, that's really interesting. And then the conversation opens up. And then we've had grandma come back to Coffin Club the next week saying, oh, my God, I had such a brilliant conversation with my family about what I want for my funeral. And nobody got upset because it wasn't, you know, I didn't sit them down and go, we're going to have this really heavy conversation now about me being dead. So it's just great for that. It's just a real easy way of easing into that difficult conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Isolation. I mean, it is a club. You know, it is somewhere that people can come. So it even helps with, you know, socially to bring people together. And then they often meet once a month for a coffee and things, because firm friendships are made. You know, you are literally, people are a little bit worried when they first come in because they're not quite sure that it's going to be intense and scary and sad. But within minutes, they are laughing, and there are tears, of course there are, but it's a safe space to talk and plan and cost your perfect send off, and it's just, it's a really happy place to be.
Which is weird because we are a bit scary and sad.
No, I agree that the sense of humor is something that shouldn't be lost. Never.
No.
Not even in death. And that's I can understand what you say, that you go to a space where, to start with, everybody have at least the same inquietud, as we say in Spanish, the same need to share certain things that they cannot share, for example, with family. So they just go into this place where everybody wants to share about death. So that's a really, really interesting and opening space for everybody to talk about it. And then the sense of humor that I'm sure it comes, because sense of humor is everywhere, but it's sometimes it's hard to find it in difficult situations. But I think if we are able to do it, it makes those difficult situations lighter. It's
absolutely. Sorry, I was weirdly shaking my head in the middle of that. My daughter was coming to tell me how a job interview went, and I was going, go away, what's the Zoom? Yeah, I mean, sense of humour is absolutely key. We go and give lots of talks to organisations like the WI, I don't know if you have similar things in Spain, Women's Institute, and U3A, which is the University of the Third Age. So they're like, groups that meet and they invite speakers along. And you can see that at first they're a little bit like, oh God, they've come to talk to us about death and dying. Don't make eye contact. This is going to be really awkward. The British are famously not good with, big or difficult emotions. So we're all like, oh my God, I'm going to feel emotions and that's going to make me really uncomfortable. And then because we have got such a light touch and we're, funny and we're normal, we're like, let's just talk about death as if it's a normal thing, because it really is. And then people respond to that. It's, if you're awkward, if you can't talk about it, that makes everybody awkward. If you're just normal and you just like, yeah, let's talk about this stuff because it's normal, it's fine.
Okay, I just have to ask, have you, Kate, asked Kevin Bacon which photo would he like to have on his lid?
I haven't managed to get hold of him. It started in my childhood when he was in Footloose and I knew all the words and the dance moves with my friend. And it's just continued throughout my life. I just find him so sexy. And why would you not want to have Kevin Bacon on top of you as you're burning? I can't think of any better way to go.
Like a sinewy old chicken.
Oh, there's something about him. I know he's not classically, but there is something. The way he wore his cowboy boots, come on in Footloose. You can't take it away from him. Gorgeous. So, yeah, if you know him, please.
Yeah, definitely. If any of the people who are listening to us have a way to contact Kevin Bacon, please get back to us.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you've explained to us the Coffin Club, how it has evolved. I know you have recently won an award that you are very happy about it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, we have just won Best Funeral Information Provider at the Good Funeral Awards. So they are the top professional awards for the funeral industry. We were up against 3 other organisations were nominated and we won, and we're exceptionally proud of that fact. And it's a terrible word, but we feel validated, as the Americans tend to say, because it's fair to say we have worked exceptionally hard.
As has the other Coffin Club in the country. I mean, it's for them as well, because they are all working equally hard to get people talking and normalising conversations.
Yeah, so, and our clubbers and our Celebrant Plus celebrants, because we train other celebrants to offer a much broader range of support to families, to let families know what's available to them. So yeah, they're all part of the Coffin Club family. We're incredibly proud of all of them, and we are proud of ourselves, Kate.
Oh yeah, no, completely we are. Yeah, I mean,
you have to be. Come on, it's an effort. It's a lot of U-turns, going in the direction, then doing a U-turn. It's nice. One should feel proud of these kind of things when they. Well,
I think
because the effort is big. The effort we put into
yes,
our dreams is big.
It absolutely is. And I think if you're entrepreneurial, you know, people imagine that it's a very straight trajectory, that you have an idea and that you then just, you know, grow it. But we have really done a lot of this.
Hours together.
And we've done a lot of this as well. Oh.
It's a good job we get on, to be honest.
Yeah, oh, do we?
Okay, now, what would be your advice for anyone listening that wants to start a coffin club?
Oh, well, the thing to do is to get in touch with us. Mm-hmm. First of all, it's a good idea to check where in the country you are if you're in the UK, because if a coffin club already exists, then we recommend you go along and help them out rather than we don't have you set up in competition. But if there's nobody doing a coffin club in your area, then we really welcome you to come along to our masterclass, which runs twice a year, and we basically tell you how to set up and run a coffin club. You then become an affiliated club for the princely sum of £12 a month, and you just get lots of support inbuilt with that. So you get access to loads of materials, you get membership of a closed Facebook group, you get a logo to use, you get regular meetups over Zoom with all the other clubs and with us. So yeah, so you just become part of the family.
Perfect. So if anyone is interested, get in touch with Kate and Kate.
Just go to the Coffin Club website, which is www.coffinclub.co.uk.
Thank you. We will add all this information in the video below. Then just a last question, unless you want to add something else. I know Kate has been poorly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really glad that you are better.
Yes.
And with a big smile back on your face. Has this situation changed your perspectives? As one of you, as a friend of a person who has been pretty sick, and the other one as the sick person? Has it made you think about, has it changed some of the things? Because when we talk theoretically about the things, it's different than when we are in that situation.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in listening to your experience in that sense.
I think it has changed it a bit, hasn't it? We were talking about it yesterday, that, you know, we work as funeral celebrants, so we see this all the time, and we see how quickly life can just be snatched away and how shocking that is. But you're right, when it's not your actual personal lived experience, it's somewhere over there, isn't it? When it's actually you, and one day you're walking around and then the next day you're, you know, told you've got a life-threatening amount of infection. A lot of pus, ladies and gentlemen. Then it does change your perspective. And because Kate was kind enough to take me to accident and emergency and sit with me all day and be part of that, I think both of us, it did bring us up short a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, we were shocked. We were shocked because you think you're invincible. You absolutely do. And it's, yeah, we balance on a knife edge. So, yeah, it's always don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Buy the shoes. So it does change how you live your life. You have to, it brings you up short.
Yeah, I don't know that it changes how I live my life, to be honest. But
oh, really? Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, but it does make me kind of go, carry on living it how you're living it, but maybe enjoy, like take the time, do the mindful stuff, you know, that actually rather than I'm very always in the future, what's coming up next, what am I doing next, I've got to do this thing, I've got to do that thing, and actually, you know, just when you're walking the dog in the woods, enjoy walking the dog in the woods rather than walking the dog in the woods whilst thinking, oh right, when I get home I've got to do such and such and such and this, because that is how I live in my head all the time. And I think it did make me think, no, when you're sitting having dinner with your kids, enjoy having dinner with your kids and be present with them. And when you're walking the dog in the woods, actually enjoy walking the dog in the woods. So I suppose it has done that. I don't know how long it'll last, to be honest.
No.
Well, I think life is about these reminders, you know. We should be living the present, but it's so complicated in the kind of society that we are all living. But I think it's good. It's good to think about it, try to put it into practice. And if it lasts 15 days, great, 15 days that you've been living in the present. And then, I think the next time with something else, maybe you will get another click and you will be able to do it 5 more days. So I think we have to be compassionate with ourselves and just live like it. Okay, I think we are more or less in time.
Can we just say very quickly then,
please,
that if anyone would like to be on our mailing list, please just go to the website and there is a capture box that you can sign up to the mailing list. We don't bombard you, but we send you the odd funny newsletter with interesting deathy things. We are also producing a downloadable version of the Coffin Club course, so that if you don't have a Coffin Club near you, you live in Spain, for example, you can just download the course and work your way through it. So we're hoping that's going to be available at the end of October. Fingers crossed if I can get my act together. So yeah, that's it.
That's beautiful.
Are you sure you don't have anything else to add? Because I think we've covered everything, no? The workshops, the trainings that you do, how to create a coffin club.
I think that's it.
And I think if any of your viewers, listeners take anything from this, is talk about it, think about it, plan it, because it is going to happen, and then just get on with living.
And I am learning Spanish on Duolingo.
Cheers.
So hopefully, if we do this again in a year's time, I'll be fluent.
Yeah, right.
I'm on Duolingo too. I'm just like, oh my God, I have to do my daily lesson. My God.
Yeah.
You were top, weren't you?
I was top, and then I got bored with being in the lead because it's you don't get anything.
Pressure. She was like,
I know, I've got to do it. So now I don't. I'm now just sliding downwards through the leads, but I'm quite happy with that.
I've got another question, because we still have a little more time. I'm fascinated by teenagers. I don't know how old your kids are. How do they live that their moms talk about death? And because the other day I was talking with my kids, and they have it. We were with some of the friends, and the friends just look at us like, oh my God, your mom is talking about dying and death. In a normal conversation, for me it's natural.
Yeah.
So my kids just look at them and, well, that's my mom, for good or for bad. She talks about this, your mom will talk about other things, and that's it. So how do your kids live this? Or I don't know, if you're in contact with teenagers or with young people, because now if we think we are immortal, young people think they are even more immortal. So how is it?
Well, I think, wouldn't it be great if it was actually taught in schools and just addressed? And, you know, I really think that would be very good for all of us. My dad died when I was 13. It was absolutely horrendously traumatic. It was 1981, and the approach was just don't talk about it, which was the worst thing that could possibly have happened. So I think actually it's really, really important that these conversations are had. So my kids probably had a bit of that already, because I talked about my dad and what a terrible experience that was. And then I think they quite like it, don't they? I think they're quite cool. They're quite proud of it. Yeah. There's quite often coffins lying around my house. So my kids have all been in and out of a coffin. We've all put each other in the coffin and then put the lid on, and there's been loads of, if anyone sits on that lid, when I get out, I will actually kill you. So yeah, you know, even more important with children and teenagers, that this stuff, because otherwise you do what I did and you somehow think it's your fault that the person has died, because that's what you do as a child or teenager when you can't explain some huge event. You know, so we should all be talking. When people say, oh, I'm not sure about taking children to a funeral, it might upset them. No, what they imagine happens at a funeral is more frightening and upsetting than what actually happens at a funeral. What actually happens at a funeral is probably they might be a bit bored.
I agree. I always think that you have to give the choice to the kids without projecting your own fears. Just sit with them and explain what they are going to see, what is it about, and just give them the choice, because they are wise. They are really wise.
Oh, absolutely.
We were talking before about sense of humor, that it shouldn't be lacking ever. Have you got, just to finish, have you got any fun story to share about a funeral or in one of your coffin clubs? I mean, you've just shared that with your kids, of putting them into the coffin and saying, hey, whoever sits on the lid, I will kill him or her afterwards. But something that has happened that really, really was like, oh my God, like a risotherapy session or something in your funerals, in any of the funerals, or in any of the workshops you offer, or in one of the workshops of the Coffin Club?
The first one that springs to mind was during a funeral service that I was taking. The lady was Scottish, and I can't do accents. I can't do them. Kate can do them brilliantly. But during the reflection time, I often turn around and look at the coffin and talk to the person that's died. And for some unknown reason to me, I decided that I was going to speak to her in a Scottish accent in front of her whole family, who were mainly Scottish. So I started going, and as I was doing it, I could feel the family looking at each other saying, what is she doing? So I had to turn back around and say to the congregation, I'm so sorry, I thought I would be able to do an accent for some reason. Luckily, the family thought it was hilarious, and they all said, we're surprised that our mum didn't actually get out of the coffin and say, what the heck are you saying? So it was brilliant. It was so funny. And luckily, we all saw the funny side of it. And I will never, ever do it again.
Oh, mine are linguistic ones. So I hope they'll translate, because they're both where I had a slip of the tongue. So one was, when we did our training, in the committal bit, the bit where you say goodbye, we were given a sort of stock set of phrases to say, which we very quickly stopped saying, because they just were not things we would ever say. They were just weird. And one of them was, your memory we cherish. And I said, your mammary we cherish, which basically is your breast we cherish. And then in another funeral, I meant to say they enjoyed a jaunt together, which is like a trip. They enjoyed going on a trip together. I said they enjoyed a joint together, which is basically a spliff, smoking marijuana. So, which everybody thought was hilarious, because I was like, they enjoyed a joint together. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe they did on one of their trips. I don't know. It was a different sort of trip.
Great examples as how the sense of humor and laughing can be even in the most serious situations. Okay, finally, our motto is porque la muerte importa. That means because death matters. Why does death matter to you?
Oh, I think for me personally, it's partly because I experienced death at a young age and it was very traumatic. But then I think through Coffin Club and through being a funeral celebrant, we can see the enormous difference death done well makes compared to it done less well, or indeed badly. That even the smallest thing. So we had somebody, we quite often have people say to us, oh, I wish I'd known about you when my mum died, when my dad died, because the funeral, it wasn't quite right, but we didn't know how to, you know. And we had one guy say to us, my mum, at the end of the service, she wanted to go and touch the coffin and say a final goodbye, personal goodbye to my dad. And she didn't know if she was allowed to, so she didn't. And he said, and she can't remember anything else about the funeral service. All she can remember is that she didn't do that, and that she regrets it, and that she feels bad about it, and she thinks she's let him down, and she's beating herself up about it. And you think, that's a tiny little, that's one tiny moment, but it meant so much. So that's why it is, death does matter, because if you get stuff wrong, it's so damaging. And if you get it right, it can be so important in the grieving recovery process.
That's what I was going to say. I think death done well really helps the living with the grieving process. It really helps. And little things, it's just the little things, but it really is a continuum and helps people living to get on.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much, Kate and Kate.
De nada.
And de nada, muy bien. And everyone watching, to find out more about the Coffin Club, visit their website, as they mentioned, coffinclub.co.uk. Don't forget that at 7 p.m. we have Alejandro Nespral. Then at 8 p.m. we will close today with a roundtable. And basically, I want to remind all the people that are listening to us that we are a not-for-profit organization, and we need you to be sustainable. So all the help, the economic help, and the donations are more than welcome. And remind you also that tomorrow is the last day of our festival, of this third edition of the festival Dando Vida a la Muerte, Giving Life to Death. So I hope you enjoy everything. I really enjoyed this interview with you both. We keep in touch, girls.
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Adios.
Adios.